Bienvenidos al segundo capítulo de Sin Fronteras. Seguimos en la ciudad de Nueva York y hemos venido a la iglesia de Hudson, donde se está realizando la 9ª edición de la Feria del Libro Anarquista. Compartiremos también en la marcha de los trabajadores de comida rápida que están peleando por $15 la hora. Así que ya lo saben, esto es Sin Fronteras y está recién empezando. Nos encontramos junto a Eric y Adriana, ambos miembros del equipo coordinador y realizador de esta 9ª edición de la Feria del Libro Anarquista, aquí en Nueva York. Eric, Adriana, bienvenidos a Sin Fronteras. ¿Cómo se inicia la Feria del Libro Anarquista en Nueva York?
Well, the first book fair was held in 2007, first New York City Anarchist Book Fair. And really this was coming kind of right after the big mobilizations against global corporate trade agreements, the mobilization against the 2004 Republican Convention, and other things like that. There was a lot of activity in anarchist circles. And there was a lot of activity on the left in general that was where the organizing was very influenced by anarchism. And New York City had become a real hub. Previously, a lot of anarchist activity in this country was in places like San Francisco, Philadelphia, Boston. There wasn't that much going on in New York, but all of a sudden there was. There were a lot of people in the anarchist movement in this city, but not a lot of events and activities that were bringing them together. And so we saw organizing an anarchist book fair as a way to build a more solidarity in the anarchist community, and also getting us to think about how we can organize in ways that would push anarchist ideas where we weren't just helping out other groups.
Adriana, ¿cuántos colectivos están en este momento ocupando mesa o están participando alrededor de la Feria del Libro Anarquista?
Nosotros no somos solamente la feira, no somos la feira, un festival de arte y un festival de cine. Y también otros colectivos organizan muchas cosas en paralelo cuando nosotros tenemos la Feria del Libro, ¿no? Lo que pasa es que aquí ahora debemos tener aproximadamente 40 diferentes colectivos, pero somos mucho más. Pero cada año entra uno, sale otro, porque se pasan cosas, pero acredito que por acá somos como 60, una cosa así. La Feria del Libro todo año tenés 2.000 personas. En principio trabajábamos con el Living Theatre. Ahora nosotros nos mudamos para acá porque Judith Malina, una de las fundadoras del Living Theatre, se murió a 2 días atrás. Entonces nos movemos para acá, que el espacio es mayor, entonces cabe muchas más personas. Hoy a las 7 tenemos también la Festival de Cine Anarquista, ¿no? Por toda la semana tenemos cosas aconteciendo en New School, en The Base, en otras organizations que también están como que vivos, articulando los movimientos.
¿Están satisfechos con la cantidad de asistentes que tiene la Feria del Libro Anarquista, considerando que Nueva York es una de las ciudades más grandes del mundo? 2.000 personas o 3.000 personas quizás es poco, está bien. ¿Cómo lo sienten ustedes?
2,000 to 2,500 is good numbers, but I do think that the radical community and the community in New York that is receptive to anarchism and potentially receptive to anarchism is much larger. One thing we've done this year for the first time really is we've had a really active social media strategy. And social media is very, very good for getting the word out about this kind of event. So we're actually hoping we'll do better this year than we have in the past. I think that the trick is that a lot of people on the left in this city, you get a lot of people who come from more of a Marxist tradition. They tend to shy away from anarchism. And you get a lot of people who are involved on sort of the liberal electoral politics side. And they take some convincing. They're political people, and often their thinking and they're is good, and they're in the right causes, but they need to be introduced to anarchism. They need to understand why anarchism is really, I think, the next stage for the left. It's where the left logically needs to go. And that's a tough argument with people who've been educated to think that anarchism is not as effective politics. It actually is much more effective politics these days than almost anything else, and we've seen that with the Occupy movement. We've seen that with the movement for global justice. We've seen it recently in the protests against police violence. It's really anarchist techniques that have put that across and got people to notice that when people who are more mainstream have been kind of soft pedaling the thing and not really being strong enough.
¿Por qué en una iglesia?
Sí, yo también soy alérgica a la iglesia, ¿entiendes? Pero esa Church, Judson Memorial Church, ella tiene una historia que es muy tradicional, con movimientos experimentales, de izquierda y todo. Y también yo pienso que cada vez que ocupamos uma igreja com movimentos anarquistas ou coisa assim, é menos uma, ou pelo menos algum momento que se está, entende, reorientando a igreja. Eu sei que em Espanha, por exemplo, a primeira coisa que hicieron, ocuparam a igreja e transformaram escolas, coisas muito mais úteis do que igreja.
Adriana, Eric, muchísimas gracias por haber compartido con nosotros y con los amigos de Sin Fronteras.
Keep watching No Borders.
We're part of Plumbers Local 1, and we're here for union wages to be fair.
The minimum wage that we have in this country is not livable. The minimum wage from 1968 indexed to inflation alone is $16 an hour, I think. So people are being paid basically poverty wages, and American taxpayers are having to subsidize it through paying for social welfare programs. And if we could just pay people a living wage from the company's profits, it would help out everyone in the country.
Los trabajadores de salarios mínimos, como por ejemplo los que trabajan en McDonald's, los que trabajan en los car washes, toda esa gente que es abusada, explotada también, y también ahora en esta economía, en estos tiempos, ¿quién vive con un salario en Estados Unidos de 8 pesos la hora?
Pagar la renta, no puedo pagar cosas para mi hijo, mi hija.
I'm no longer working, but I know what it is to be a single mom and struggling, not making enough money.
Yo soy trabajador de car wash. En nuestro car wash ya tenemos un contrato y tenemos unión, pero nuestro salario es de 8.92. Vivimos en una de las ciudades más caras a nivel mundial. Con 8.75 no podemos subsistir a nuestras familias, no podemos pagar renta, no podemos traer comida a la casa, no podemos pagar nuestros biles. Es justo y necesario que se haga un cambio y es el momento, es ahora.
Supposedly there are 20,000 people here. It's the largest march, the largest gathering of low-wage workers for minimum wage in U.S. history.
I work for McDonald's. I'm only making $7.65. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. 20 hours a week. It's ridiculous. I can't hardly live off of that.
We're Domestic Workers United, New York, and we're on the front line for $15 an hour. We're babysitters, caregivers, house cleaners, dog walkers. And because of the job we do, most times we're not respected. So we're on the front line for change. There are women who are still working in the industry for $7 an hour. We're out here to say, no, it's not acceptable. Anything from $15 and up. Because here what? When we work in the homes, we make our employers privy to go to work, privy to do their career, privy to eat at these fancy restaurants, while these domestic workers go home penniless and their money goes back into the economy. That is why we're on the front line for $15 an hour.
Nos encontramos en Staten Island y vinimos a hablar con los familiares y amigos de Eric Garner, que hace 9 meses atrás fue asesinado por la policía de Nueva York en este mismo lugar.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! No justice! No peace! No racist police!
It's been 9 months since Eric was murdered today. So right now we just want to come out and definitely remembrance of him. And second, to hold EMS accountable because they arrived on the scene and they did anything to resuscitate him, to help him do anything. You know, they knew he was dead on arrival. They're trained to know. And they didn't give him any assistance.
This is real talk. He just got there. He was at a family reunion. He just came back to New York. He wasn't on the block 25 minutes. And broke up a fight in the midst of that. And then they rolled because they couldn't they brutalize the people who was fighting because he done broke up the fight and sent them on their way, made them disperse off the block. He did their job for them, so they mad and so they attack him. Come on, where they do that at? In America? Who wants to come to America and they doing stuff like that? This is supposed to be the great American melting pot. All forms of life is here. All nationalities is here. Everybody say, oh, this race, that race. There's only one race. It's a human race, and I think I'm a part of that.
The people united will never be defeated if they keep us divided. We know we're being cheated. Justice for Eric Garner!
We're here to show that we don't only want the killer cops to be held accountable. We also want the EMS workers to be held accountable because when they arrived, they didn't even attempt to give him any air, attempt to revive him.
Just because I'm black, I should not be ostracized because of my color. I thought we did away with that back in Martin Luther King days. Now, We still going through it. We still have to contend with prejudice to the point where they are killing us.
This is an epidemic that's been going on for years. So on a wider scale, we're here to say in broken windows, and also Bill Bratton and to any of the city council members that are following his request to put 1,000 new police. We don't want 1,000 new killers on the street. You can use that $100 million to put back in plenty of other places to community build. Community building is the answer. Every time the cops kill someone, they want to retrain. How many times you're going to retrain and get more cops? It's not the answer. Put the money back into communities like this that you defunded.
From the day that they killed my cousin Eric, they went across the country on a killing spree. In all different forms of law enforcement across the country, they've killed more blacks in just this year, from July 17th till now. They've killed so many black people, unarmed, not committing a crime, just out the blue. The police are just running rampant. They said that they sanctioned this guy for being a protester and said that he was a terrorist. I think the police are terrorists. They make us afraid to call them for assistance. That's wrong. If we need help from the police, why should we be afraid to call them? We're afraid because we know they're killing us. They're killing us. A black person cannot call a police officer because they're afraid that that police officer is going to turn the tables on them.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
We black, but we helped build this country. As a matter of fact, we built this country, not off the sweat, blood, and tears. Why are we being treated this way in this day and age? This is 2015. We should not still be treated like second-class citizens. We human, just like they are. You know, at the end of the day, we need to be recognized as human. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, they marched for civil rights. We marching for human rights now. We want human rights. We want to be treated like human beings. And it's only customary for a human, if they're incapacitated, laying on the ground, that an EMS worker comes to revive them and give them all the necessary training that they receive should have been applied. My cousin would still be alive if they would have did their job. That's all I'm saying.
Hemos llegado al final de nuestro segundo capítulo de Sin Fronteras e invitamos a G1 del colectivo Rebeldías. Bienvenido G1 a Sin Fronteras.
Gracias hermano, te agradezco.
Cuéntanos, ¿cómo se inicia? ¿Cuáles son los orígenes de Rebeldías?
Yo y mi hermano crecimos en Chicago con padres exiliados de Chile. Nuestro papá fue miembro del MIT y estuvo en los campos de concentración en Chile por 3 años durante la dictadura Pinochet y terminamos en Chicago. Y nosotros crecimos en Chicago con lo que es esa historia familiar de lo que fue la lucha en Chile, pero también lo que fue la realidad de las calles de Chicago y lo que es la cultura hip hop. Y ahora, hace 12 años, aquí en el Bronx, hemos logrado combinar esos mundos, lo que es la revolución con cual crecimos y lo que es esa perspectiva de justicia social con lo que es la cultura hip hop y lo que es el potencial de rebeldía dentro de esa cultura que a través de todo el mundo se practica en los sectores más marginados, en los sectores más oprimidos. Nosotros nos tomamos un edificio aquí en el sur del Bronx, a donde hay muchos edificios que fueron fábricas que están abandonadas. Y en el 2008 nosotros con otros jóvenes, otros artistas, constructores, nos tomamos un edificio aquí en el Bronx y ahí surgió lo que es el colectivo de arte Rebeldía, que en realidad para nosotros es un órgano político, cultural, social, con la idea de crear espacios liberados a través del hip hop. Y eso puede ser conciertos, puede ser el edificio que nos tomamos. Hoy día ya no tenemos el edificio, pero seguimos el trabajo de tomar los espacios públicos con la cultura, lo que es la tradición del hip hop. La idea es salir con los parlantes, salir con la música, tener a los b-boys, a los DJ afuera. En este país, en los 40 años de la historia del hip hop, tenemos ha crecido mucho lo que es la era de encarcelación en este país. Desde el 70 había un aumento de más de 500% de gente encarcelada en este país. Entonces eso es una situación donde el espacio público está siendo criminalizado y la gente que está cayendo en las cárceles son los jóvenes latinos, los jóvenes negros, la gente pobre. Entonces para nosotros el colectivo de arte Rebeldía es un proyecto político, social, cultural para poder reclamar ese espacio público, para poder crear espacios a donde los jóvenes pueden practicar una cultura alternativa, una cultura combatiente y una cultura también que es crítica a lo que nos presentan los medios masivos para vendernos el capitalismo. Entonces eso es un proyecto que sigue y que incluye muchos otros artistas. Tenemos a jóvenes tremendos como YC The Cynic, Vidum, artistas que han crecido dentro de nuestra organización y que hoy día practican una cultura rebelde y a través de su música pueden presentar la historia de nuestra comunidad que tanto muchas veces no se cuentan.
Igual muchas gracias por haber compartido con nosotros y a nuestros amigos y amigas que siguen viendo Sin Fronteras los dejamos con aquí el hermano G1.
Mamá exiliado, cabros criados en diferentes lados. Uno en Londres, rojo el pasaporte, el otro nace en territorio hostil. Gringolandia, donde el dólar manda y no se habla de la desigualdad. En la guata del mismo imperio que busco matar a mis viejos. Es un peso que yo llevo dentro, en mi mente, dentro presente, dentro del vientre de esa bestia. Lo que te enseñan, cómo te afecta la materia, el consumismo. Cada uno brega por sí mismo. Sigo en la busca, la verdad. Soy de aquí y soy de allá. Quizás me quieren porque saben que yo soy de aquí. Quizás no entienden porque saben que yo soy de allá. But you don't get it, homie, soy de aquí. But you don't get it, homie, soy de allá. parte del programa, o sea, salió el segmento cuando estaba ocurriendo todo. Y después lo juntamos todo, porque Telesu nos pidió que lo juntáramos todo con ¿cómo se llama? Con el translation, claro.